Welcome to the Taking Care of Tutu podcast. I'm your host, Meg Obenolf, and today we're so happy to have Heidi Ho of Pono Legal here joining us. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I want to hear all about everything about you and your backstory and what brought you to this point and why you started. Is it Pono Legal is the name of it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Why you started Pono Legal, and then I want to hear all about what you're doing. So let's first talk a little bit about who you are.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. So I'm a Maui girl, born and raised. Mom is Diane Ho, who people might know.
The very well known on this Irish Diane Ho.
Some people might know. And I grew up. Her family also grew up in Hawaii and stuff. And so we grew up, paddling canoe at Kahului Harbor. I went to Makawao Elementary. I also went to Kamehameha at Kapolama campus, and then came to California for college and stayed beyond that as well. But so yeah, that's kind of my story, is just that I'm, born and raised and just person who cares about Maui and is, from Maui and keeps coming back home, because I have a mom who, can you believe she's going to be 80 this year? She does not like that, though.
She's a total dynamo.
I know. So when I
you're following about her. She's taking care of us, probably.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So you went to law school too, followed in?
Yes, yeah. So I knew I'm one of those kids who, my mom, I don't know. So I'm going to go back a little bit. So to really understand me is to really understand, my mom's and her trajectory. So when my mom was younger, so she really wanted to be a lawyer as well. And so she had thought she was going to go, there's no law school in Hawaii. So she thought she was going to go to USC or, somewhere in California, somewhere abroad or away. And she ended up marrying my dad when she was still in college level, or she met him there and stuff. And my dad had 2 kids from his high school girlfriend at the time. And so when my mom got together with my dad, my brothers were like 3 and 2, so they're 15 months apart. And so of course she took them in, and then like several years later had my brother Kyoki and then myself. So all 4 of us, raised by her. A lot of people who do pro bono or free legal services are maxed out as it is. And then you add a disaster. When you have a normal pro bono or free legal assistance, it's usually you have to make the cut as far as like being indigent, right? So, but at the same time, if you lost your home, everybody technically is. So we were kind of like, if you were impacted by the fires, we will help you. Everything from if you lost your home, or if you lost the place you're renting, which is still your home, or if you lost the job that might have been where you're getting your medical and your income, and now you don't have any income. So we were kind of just that, hey, if you're impacted and you could prove that you're impacted, we would help you. And so we're kind of branching out. And as we got bigger and then December came, we were like, we need to start thinking about getting some funding from Maui Strong or Hawaii Community Foundation. So that's kind of where we went next. And then right around then was my mom's big retirement party. So Foundation, a lot of the judges, like I think it was Romanchek and Judge McNish, are like, how come you're not asking? So we kind of went along those 2 lanes of applying and getting some assistance then. And then of course it's like, okay, now I need somebody on Maui 24/7, because I was going back and forth. I had convinced the law school to help me, to let me go for 10 days a month. So I would like leave, my last class would be on Thursday. I go Thursday, I come back and I spend the full following week on Maui. And then I go back on Monday and then, and then have class. And so I just do a Zoom class one week a month. It was a lot.
And the demand was that people needed more. They needed someone who was in the office the other weeks of the month.
Yeah, or just like physically because by then Kako'o had started too. So the Kako'o Center, and then Maui, the Office of Recovery that's over in Lahaina, opened in July of last summer. So so just kind of like all these things are opening. Like, so physicality of being there in the community was important for the intakes. Could tell people, hey, yeah, call us, and people would call, but it's really about being physically there and then they asking questions.
So tell me all of the different kinds of things. So it started with, I think you were advising on insurance claims and insurance appeals.
Mm-hmm. So I think so there is we didn't have to recreate the wheel, which is great. So dealing with, which is a nonprofit that works with the Cal Bar, they're in connection. So the minute a disaster happens, DLAC is triggered. They work with the Cal Bar, so they know everyone who's barred in California, and they kind of work in togetherness. So I'm kind of like the Pono Legal. Do we connect with Hawaii State Bar? So there's some talk about how to make it more seamless and also just prepared ahead of a disaster. That's when DLAC was.
Yeah, because we had like the desk at this Lahaina Civic Center. And then that was Maui County Bar. And then the state bar had like a phone line that we would volunteer for.
Right. And it wasn't all coordinated together. So the whole thing is like, and then you have legally. So my thought, I think by September when we came home, and I came home to really like sit there and be with the firefighters on September 8th, a month after, and kind of like figuring that out, started to really realize, I think our model, I thought I was going to be like doing all this stuff in court and trying to help and do all these things. And I realized our model was really more of a disaster, like intake resource place where these are all your legal issues. A lot of people, more than one, and where to go. And so almost like we called it the Legal Hub Project. And so intakes are, I think people trusted my mom's office, so they would call her office more.
But I was thinking, and also because it's known to, if you know it's a nonprofit, like the PI attorneys were everywhere, and a lot of them were doing insurance reviews for people. But I think people were nervous about like, what is the cost of what I'm asking for this? And so I think something about your mom's reputation and it being a nonprofit made it feel like a safe place to go.
Yeah, and just to share, and so then you would have like someone who came in, and there might be 5 different legal areas that you had to deal with one person. And then
I honestly think like the intake might be the hardest part of this because there's so many different.
Right. And so so what we did is we started to coordinate with, so Rhonda Griswold was the president of Hawaii State Bar at the time when the fires happened, and her wheelhouse is probate, right? So she's like, I can do those, and I can coordinate all probate attorneys in Hawaii, and we can get.
And she did. She sent out an email to all of us saying if anyone would do free probates for people who were going to be part of the governor's settlement process.
Yeah.
She was collecting people for that.
So there's 3 things that I'm looking at for the future. So one is we just launched a summer program. We're going to we are hiring 2 law students, $10,000 for the summer. I mean, can you imagine? Right. Internship to prepare the next generation of disaster lawyers. So we're going to put them through the whole process and teach them and network and have them go out to the sites and everything. So we're hiring 2 attorneys, 2 law students, and 2 undergrads who are in legal studies and want to become lawyers. And it's physically on Maui, so you have to be here, and it's really be awesome. And a lot of our board and our advisory board are going to be a part of that and helping shape what that looks like. So that's one way of moving forward. Another way of moving forward is we're looking a lot at policy too. Like, a lot of people if they have loss of use. So like basically where you get your rental money to live while you're waiting for to rebuild and to your house to be built. Most of them are only a year long if you get that. And so that's why everybody went crazy during this last August, right? Because all of that's going to be running out. And then they have to do these FEMA. Now they might qualify for FEMA because they ran out of their insurance money. And so all of that stuff. So, should we have a policy when there's a disaster for 2 years loss of use? Like that should be like a standard of some sort, because we're not rebuilding that fast.
No, we're
right. Yeah. So just kind of like looking at like the big policy issues that are going to be on there. So we are working with a few organizations on doing that. And then the other thing that I'm looking at is kind of like, so in Hawaii, right? So what I don't want is like there's a big disaster or something that happens on Big Island. And then it's like Heidi Ho comes and you're like, hey, I can help you. And they're like, who are you? So what I'm hoping is to do something where we go around and we're walking.
Do training.
Yeah, do training, but also like share what we learned, put it out there. And so that if something happens, God forbid, right? But if there's something happens, they're like, hey, we know somebody who might know how to do this. And then they reach out to us. We'd totally want to share, but it's a different thing when they kind of feel like they built that trust and they know you versus you coming in after the fact going, who are you? Or kind of on Maui too, even with like Oahu lawyer, like, who are you?
So you're wanting to not only address what's already happened, but also build up the reserves all over the state so that there's disaster preparedness from a legal point of view, which we're always thinking of it from like a housing, food, water, electrical point of view, but also from a legal point of view.